Welcome everyone to this new video, and yes, as you have figured out from the title, I have finally achieved my full split, and this was a really long process. So today I'm here to share with you a little bit my story, what I did, what worked, what didn't work, and so that hopefully that will be helpful also for you on your journey toward the side split. So first of all, before I started training flexibility more seriously, I would say that I was an above average stiff person. And when I got for the first time in China, I was 19 at the time, and I figured out how important flexibility was for Chinese Kung Fu. And so that's when I really started to train a little bit more flexibility in general. And pretty soon I figured out that my body was taking longer than other people to develop flexibility. I am very tall and I was very stiff at the time, so I had to be very patient. Often methods that worked for other people didn't work for me, and I think in the end that was very good because it really pushed me to research a lot and to figure out more efficient methods for developing flexibility. So it was not until a few years later, when I got to the Five Immortals Temple, that I really started to train more specifically toward the side split. And slow by slow my practice increased until I got to the point when I was practicing the splits every day, sometimes even 1 hour sessions, and I was like crazy intense training, very painful often, but still it was giving results slow by slow. Until at a certain point, some friends arrived to the temple and they had amazing splits, and they was using the method of pushing each other down into the split. And so since I was up for anything to achieve the split, I was willing to try this method. And so for 3 days I used this method, and actually I did manage to touch down into a full split, but on the third day I got injured pretty badly. And so for a week or so I couldn't really walk very properly, and for 6 months I was not feeling comfortable to practice the splits at all. And well, yes, since then, slow by slow, I started to take up again the training, but didn't really manage to improve. Every year was like, okay, next year is gonna be the years of the split, and it was never the year of the split. It passed like 6 or 7 years since that time, and I didn't really have very concrete improvements in my split since that time. So it was not until last year, more or less, that I started to be fed up with all this pointless training, and decided to learn more about the theory of stretching and find out ways to improve the efficiency of my practice. So at that time I was already starting to figure out that pushing like crazy every day was not an efficient method, and so I figured out that for myself around 2 sessions per week of side splits was optimal. 1 or 3 could be also okay, but definitely not more than 3. And in this way my body had time to recover, to feel better, and then when I went to stretch it, it was more willingly relaxing and opening into the position without making so much resistance, and also was a much less painful process. So it was definitely a big thing for me for improving my flexibility. The other very important aspect that I found out with researching was the idea of active mobility, or the idea of developing strength in our end range of motion. So basically this is the concept that we don't only want to be able to reach this extreme range of motions during passive stretching, but we also want to develop the strength to actually move in and out of these ranges of motion with control. And in this way our body will feel much more safe and much more comfortable to go into this range of motion, and will more willingly relax and allow us to get there. So since I started applying these methods, it had a very good positive curve of improving my side split. And so that's when also I created the side split challenge that we put out last New Year, where for 2 months with a group of people we were practicing the splits 2 times per week, and it had very good results. The video is still available on YouTube right now. I'll put a link. And yes, by the middle already of this process, I managed to touch down with a full split, which was very fulfilling moment, the first time with an unassisted full split. And yes, since then I have been practicing until now to consolidate my split, still giving myself some periods to rest and trying to listen to my body at the best of my abilities. I really found that if I stretched even only 2 times per week, after a few weeks my body would not want to improve anymore. So it would be good to give even just a couple of weeks of rest to really give it the time to recover, and then it would be also much easier to start again improving on the next cycle of training. So this is a short footage of me doing the side split now. I must say I'm pretty proud of it. I still cannot hold it for very long, but at least I'm there. And yes, now I would like to share with you a few of the most useful exercises that I found to develop this flexibility. So the number one most important and best exercise for complementing the side split training, in my opinion, is the horse stance. This is a very fundamental and important exercise for the Kung Fu practices, which is great. And yes, actually this played a pretty important role in developing my flexibility since when I was in the temple. And there was a period when I was training the horse stance like a crazy person. For maybe like 1.5 years, I was training it every day, holding it as long as I could, and I got all the way maybe up till 50 minutes. That was insane, and I don't recommend this method of training to anybody because my legs were completely fatigued all the time. But yes, I only understood now how much these have improved my splits. At the time I was seeing improvements in my splits, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe it's all this meditation that I'm doing, or the standing meditation. But definitely, even if that helped, definitely the side split was really benefiting from my horse stance training. So for the training of side split, I would recommend a low horse stance, and actually you can make it very wide. This is not, of course, the optimal position for martial arts training, but it's very good for opening your hips. And so during this position I would focus to push out my knees more and more, activating the glutes and all the legs. Also, specifically for training the side split, it doesn't matter if you actually stick out your butt. It may be actually a good thing to do, and even if this is not at all the good position for training Kung Fu. Also, another method that I started to use to make this horse stance even more effective for the splits was to push toward the inside my knees and to have my legs pushing outwards to increase the resistance and the effort I would have to make with my glutes and with my legs. And I found this was very effective, especially just before a side split. To go in a horse stance, hold it, push out, contract, and then relax into a split. Gave me very good results. Another very good exercise that I found for developing this type of flexibility was the pissing dog, where you basically sit on your knees and put your hands on the floor, opening one leg to the side and using strength to lift the leg as high as possible. You can do 10 repetitions on each side between every set of side split, and this is a more active way of training a similar type of strength that the one we develop with the horse stance, with the only difference that this is more dynamic, where the horse stance is more static. So it would be good also to implement them both. So the last exercise that I found very useful was simply the side leg raise or the side kick. It can be more explosive or more slow and controlled, or it can even be holding your leg with your hand or holding it against the wall. And I found this was very useful to develop this end range of motion strength. Besides these 3 exercises, actually any stretching exercise that you will do will positively affect your side split, and this is because in the body everything is connected, and often we have a part that is tense and this part can be holding back other parts that may not seem related to us. Some honorable mention, I think, to the side split training could be any exercise that stretches and relaxes the glutes and the lower back. I found those very helpful to prepare myself to enter in the training of side splits. On a final note, I would like to say that there is this big discussion everywhere about the best and the most efficient way to stretch. Some say that the passive relaxing stretch is the best way to go. Some speak more about the active mobility and the strength that they use more, like in ballet or in gymnastics. And the Chinese use the explosive method that many people say that is completely crazy and dangerous. And what I have found in my experience was that the combination of these 3 methods was the most efficient thing for me, and I had to listen to my body and find out what was best in every different moment. In some periods passive stretching was the best, in some other maybe active or even explosive stretching was the one that was giving most results. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that this content has been useful for you to understand how to make the practice of stretching more efficient. As always, if you have any question, feel free to contact me anytime or simply to leave a comment below this video. Thank you so much again, and see you next time.